In Orange County, wealth usually looks like a white Ferrari screaming down the Pacific Coast Highway or a custom-built mega mansion perched on the cliffs of Newport Coast. But the real power players are rarely the ones in plain sight. They are the ones who have mastered the art of invisibility while quietly owning the very ground everyone else is standing on. This is no longer a story of immigrant survival, it is a story of total economic domination. And today, we are pulling back the curtain on the most secretive empires of the richest Vietnamese women in the country. Number 12. Helene An, the culinary matriarch and empress of the secret kitchen. We are starting our list with the woman widely known as the Mother of Fusion and the strategic brain behind the multi-million-dollar House of An. Her story is the ultimate blueprint for a corporate comeback because she was actually born into a life of massive privilege in Vietnam and was surrounded by luxury before her world was reset to zero when she fled to the US in 1975. Most people in that position would have settled for a stable 9-to-5 job. But Helene took a tiny Italian deli called Than Long and transformed it into a global brand that defined high-end dining for an entire generation. The real genius of her wealth is something called trade secret intellectual property, and she manages it like a state secret. In her flagship restaurants, like An Chi in Costa Mesa or Crustacean in Beverly Hills, there is a literal secret kitchen that only family members are allowed to enter. This means her core product can never be copied by a competitor or stolen by a departing chef, so she effectively owns a monopoly on her flavor. While other celebrity chefs are out there chasing fame on reality TV, Helene is focused on the economics of a family dynasty that controls the entire supply chain of their success. She didn't just build a place to eat. She built an aspirational lifestyle brand that feeds everyone from US presidents to the global A-list, and industry estimates place the valuation of her holdings and personal assets in the high tens of millions. To the state of California, she is a massive employer and a tax pillar, proving that integrity and secrets can be an asset class of their own. But while Helene An was building her empire through the food industry, our next entry decided to build her influence through the very laws that govern the land. Number 11. Janet Nguyen, the political architect of the OC infrastructure. Janet Nguyen is the California State Senator for Orange County, and she is the highest-ranking Vietnamese-American woman in U.S. political history. Her financial story is iconic because it focuses on the ownership of policy rather than just liquid cash. She arrived here as a refugee and grew up in the local neighborhood, but she didn't just study for a career, she attended UC Irvine and set her sights on the institutional ladder. Most people see politics as just a matter of votes, but for Janet, it is about being at the nerve center of a multi-billion-dollar economy. Think about her role as a gatekeeper for the state's capital, because she isn't just a face on a flyer, she is the one overseeing the legislation that redirects how billions in state funds are spent on infrastructure and development. Her career is a masterclass in reframing the Vietnamese narrative from seeking permission to writing the rules. In the hierarchy of power in the OC, she occupies a level of prestige that acts as a permanent shield. And while her verified personal income is part of the public record, her true value as a global representative and speaker is massive. She doesn't just manage a business, she manages the minds that get projects approved and built, and she proved that when you become part of the system itself, you are no longer just living the dream. You are the one designing it. And once the laws are written, the next generation realized they could use the digital world to build a brand that no border could ever contain. Number 10. Michelle Phan, the digital dynamo who created a new asset class. Michelle Phan is the woman who showed the entire world how to turn a digital camera into a billion-dollar blueprint. She didn't just become a YouTube star, she became a cross-continental asset. Born to a Vietnamese family and coming from a very humble background, she used her digital fame as seed capital to build Ipsy, a company that eventually reached a massive valuation of over $500 million. Her financial profile is arguably the strongest of the younger generation because she moved from being a creator to being an owner almost immediately. The move that really makes her wealth different is how she pivoted from a subscription box model into Em Cosmetics, where she owns the actual supply chain, the laboratory formulas, and the branding. She is the architect of the modern influencer mogul path, and instead of begging brands for an endorsement deal, She is the one who built the company that competing brands try to copy. While her personal net worth is estimated to be around $50 million, her real financial armor is the platform she created. Unlike many creators whose fame fades after a few years, Michelle built an engine that runs on equity and e-commerce, making her wealth remarkably stable. She effectively transitioned from a teen in her bedroom to a global corporate owner, and she is winning the game because she owns the tools she uses to communicate. But while Michelle Phan was busy owning the digital screen, our next mogul was busy owning the very airwaves that deliver the news. Number 9. Vicky Nguyen, the national news veteran and corporate strategist. Vicky Nguyen is a woman who built her fortune on the most stable currency in the world, which is public trust. She was born in Ho Chi Minh City and arrived in America as a refugee, where she mastered the intricate logistics of institutional broadcasting. After rising through the ranks to become an executive anchor for NBC News, she realized that true financial security comes from treating your personal brand like a high-performing software. Her income is diversified through exclusive speaking circuits and corporate consulting fees that mirror the rates of top-tier attorneys. Public industry sources suggest her net worth is sitting in the $5 million to $8 million range, and this is largely because she is an executive stakeholder who understands the business side of the news. Instead of being just another face on a screen, she is a foundational pillar for one of the largest media giants in the country, which gives her a layer of professional immunity. She has effectively traded the instability of the news cycle for a secure position at the nerve center of American communication, proving that a trusted voice is a scalable enterprise. And as the news tells the story of today, our next woman is busy creating the stories that the entire world will watch tomorrow. Number 8. Lana Condor, the young titan of streaming equity. Lana Condor utilized the success of the To All the Boys franchise to create a multi-layered financial machine. She was born in Can Tho, Vietnam, and she understands that in the modern economy, you have to own the content you produce. She isn't just an actress for hire. She is a producer who launched her own production firm, and that means she transitioned from being a worker for Netflix to being a business partner with the major studios. Think about the math of her contracts, because every time a new generation of viewers re-watches her films, her passive revenue engine fires up. Industry estimates place her fortune in the $20 million to $25 million bracket, and she has built such a high-profile reputation as an economic asset for the California filming industry that she occupies a top-tier slot of protection. Her influence doesn't rely on being a celebrity, it relies on her ability to generate massive numbers on digital platforms. She has successfully moved from a teen idol to a multimedia mogul who owns the camera she stands in front of. But while some find their power on the screen, others have realized that owning the punchline is the fastest way to own the boardroom. Number 7. Ali Wong, the syndication queen and high-equity comedian. Ali Wong represents a different breed of Vietnamese excellence where personal truth is turned into a high-yield global commodity. Her breakthrough didn't just change her tax bracket, it fundamentally altered her corporate status. Some people build wealth one brick at a time, but Ali built it one laugh at a time until she became an essential asset for Silicon Valley. The financial engine behind Ali is one of the strongest in the entertainment industry because her contracts are valued at upward of $20 million. But the real wealth is her ownership of the digital shelf. Every time someone anywhere on the globe clicks play on her specials, the money keeps moving. Estimates from industry insiders place her fortune comfortably between $15 million and $20 million. Because her brand moves massive subscriber numbers for multi-billion-dollar companies like Netflix and Amazon, she is a high-profile economic partner for these institutions. This creates a wall of safety that few people in Hollywood ever achieve, and she has traded small stand-up clubs for global boardrooms, moving through life as a partner of the world's most powerful platforms. And while some use humor to build a fortress, our next woman realized that bridal wear was actually an economy fueled by emotion that never dies. Number 6. Kieu Nguyen, the fashion architect of OC Luxury. Kieu Nguyen represents the new elite of high-fashion entrepreneurship, and she dominates a market that spans from the custom shops in Fountain Valley to the boutiques in Newport Beach. She took the ownership model and applied it to every thread of her brand. She was born to a family with deep ties to craftsmanship, and she built an aspirational empire where a single bridal set can cost as much as a new car. She grew up in her parents' beauty salons in Orange County, which is where she learned the business of looking good at a young age. The genius behind her wealth is that her business is bulletproof because she helps brides, celebrities, high-profile people look their best for red carpet events, high-end weddings, and they are always willing to spend millions. Her brand value and personal net worth suggest a fortune that is nearing the top end of the multi-million-dollar bracket. Her status is solidified by being the designer of record for high society families and OC billionaires. Because she runs a thriving production arm and maintains massive retail spaces in expensive real estate, she is an economic anchor. To her community, she is the designer of dreams, but to the local economy, she is a heavy-hitting entrepreneur with institutional protection. But once the wedding is over, the elite need a place to gather, and that is where the next member of the An dynasty takes control. Number 5. Elizabeth An, the business mogul scaling a culinary kingdom. Just her mother, Elizabeth An, is the person who has taken the family name and turned it into a high-stakes corporate group. As the CEO, she is responsible for moving the family brand from a kitchen to a full-blown luxury lifestyle empire. She realized very early on that if you want to be a queen in Southern California, you have to own the brand that everyone wants to be associated with. How she actually gets her money is a masterclass in modern scaling. She doesn't just manage the floor at a restaurant, she manages the entire revenue stream that comes from high-end catering, e-commerce, and major retail partnerships. Every time a major fashion house or a celebrity throws a massive gala in the OC, they are often paying Elizabeth's company to run it. She owns the high ground of the dining experience, and while other restaurants come and go with the trends, Elizabeth has turned her family's trade secrets into a business that is essentially recession-proof. Her bank account and company valuations place her comfortably at the top of the multi-million-dollar list, and her status is rock solid because she is a massive employer who brings prestige to the region. And finally, we move from the modern moguls to the woman who paved the road for everyone else on this list. Number 4. Kieu Chinh, the Hollywood legend who conquered the world. Some people build wealth one deal at a time, but Kieu Chinh built it one decade at a time. She's a resident of Huntington Beach, and her motion picture career spans nearly 70 years. To call her a celebrity is a massive understatement because she is a living archive of Vietnamese excellence. Her wealth isn't based on what a studio decides to greenlight next week, it's based on the compounding interest of legacy. She was already a star in Vietnam before 1975, and when everything was wiped out, she used her exile as a laboratory for high-tier artistic production. She's won an Emmy, and her memoir is currently a global cultural asset being translated into multiple languages, which means her intellectual property is constantly generating value in markets across the world. She isn't just a neighbor in the OC, she is a cornerstone of the community's identity. Because her work is part of the global cultural canon, she occupies a permanent place of honor. This is what we mean when we say she is untouchable, because her name carries more weight in Hollywood than most modern-day A-listers. She proved that when you outlast every struggle and keep your name at the top, you stop being an actress and start being history. Number 3. Diedre Thu-Ha Nguyen. She is the queen of science and civic power. This is where the laboratory meets the ballot box in a way that creates a massive layer of structural immunity. Diedre is a cancer scientist and a former Garden Grove City Council member who understands that true status in the United States is built on a pedigree that you simply cannot buy with a credit card. Her story is rooted in the highest form of American patriotism because her father was a Marine major who fought alongside American troops, and that history gives her a level of social capital that is basically bulletproof in the conservative and affluent circles of the OC. When you look at her professional life, she holds 2 separate clinical laboratory licenses in California, and you have to understand that these aren't just pieces of paper. These licenses represent a bottleneck in the healthcare system because the state only allows a certain number of experts to oversee the complex testing that keeps the population alive. But Diedre didn't just stay behind a microscope. She decided to step into the political arena by running for the California State Assembly in a race that defined the heart of Little Saigon. This move was a masterclass in high-stakes power because it allowed her to own the space between scientific expertise and the law. She is the person who can walk into a boardroom and explain the genetics of a disease, and then walk into a council chamber and explain how a new piece of legislation will affect a multi-million-dollar budget. This is not just a career, it is a form of institutional power that makes her a load-bearing wall in the community. She represents a new wave of Vietnamese women who realize that if you want to be untouchable, you have to be the one writing the policies that everyone else has to follow. And she has proven that the most powerful women in the country are the ones who control the data and the laws at the same time. Number 2. Dr. Quynh Kieu. She is the medical dynasty queen. At number 2 is the woman who owns the most durable form of wealth there is, and that is the unwavering trust of an entire community. Inside the borders of Little Saigon and the greater Orange County area, her name holds a kind of weight that no luxury brand could ever hope to touch. She walked out of medical school in 1975 at the exact moment her country was collapsing, and she spent the next several decades rebuilding her life at UC Irvine and turning her pediatric practice into a civic institution. The financial reality of her power is something that a lot of people overlook because they see her as just a doctor. But Dr. Quynh Kieu is actually the founder of the Project Vietnam Foundation, and through this organization, she has built a massive healthcare infrastructure that provides missions and clinical care to tens of thousands of families. This isn't just a charity, it is a piece of the OC power structure that the local government and city officials depend on to keep the community healthy. When we say she is untouchable, we are talking about a woman who has 40 years of high-level medical contributions and community service. She has saved countless lives and built an organization that the county cannot function without. You cannot just replace someone like her, and that makes her position at the top of the social hierarchy absolutely rock solid. She represents the ultimate success story of making yourself indispensable to the health of the public, proving that when the community relies on you to survive, you occupy a seat at the table that can never be taken away. Finally, we arrive at the very top of the list, where the wealth is no longer measured by local influence, but by global industrial dominance. Number 1. Mimi Morris. She is the Empress of the Newport Coast. Mimi Morris is the woman who sits on the final throne of the Orange County finish line. And she didn't just build a successful business, she effectively owns the definition of luxury in California. Her story is one of the most dramatic transformations in the world, starting with her hiding in a bunker during the war in Vietnam and reaching its peak in a 32,000 square foot mansion in the Newport Coast that is worth an estimated $35 million. But to understand why she is number 1, you have to look past the social media posts and look at the actual industrial engine that fuels her life. Mimi is a partner in a massive financial and manufacturing empire alongside her husband Don Morris, who is the CEO of the Morris Group. This isn't a small family business. We are talking about a company that manages the largest industrial infrastructure in the United States. They produce the gratings, the flooring, and the structural components that make up the backbone of American factories and power plants. This is an empire worth billions of dollars that keeps the national economy moving 24 hours a day. Her financial profile is a combination of massive real estate holdings, global industrial contracts, and an elite lifestyle that is reserved for the top 0.1% of the population. Her name is on the guest list of every major philanthropy board and exclusive club in the world, and she pays millions in taxes while driving the nonprofit world in Orange County. She didn't just participate in the American dream, she became the queen of the entire neighborhood, proving that the real prize is owning the very ground that everyone else is fighting to stand on. She is the undisputed leader of this list because her wealth is so deeply embedded into the physical structure of the country that she has reached a level of status where her influence is permanent. These are Vietnamese queens who turned Orange County into their personal fortress and prove that once you own the economy, you become completely untouchable. So which one of these powerful dynasties would you want to join tomorrow if you had the chance? Let me know in the comments right now. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to Her Status, and stay tuned because we have a lot more luxury coming your way soon.